Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to this meeting of the Warrant Committee. We have a fair number of things that we need to have completed. So our first order of business is to review our last meeting's minutes. And if there are no changes, the chair will entertain a motion to accept them. We have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Accepted. Thank you very much. We will move directly to the review of the articles for the January town meeting, and I see that we have members of the select board here in abundance. And which of you is going to come and do the honors for us?
Chuck Strong, we're going to pull him right now.
Exactly. Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Dennehy and I will go up, and
Perfect.
to the extent we need others to fill in, we'll
Thank
ask
you.
them to do it.
That's perfect. Okay, just make sure when you come, you identify who is speaking so that all of the teeming multitudes out in TV land can know who it is who is speaking.
All right. So my name is Mike Zulis. I'm Chair of the Select Board, and I'm here with Mike Dennehy, who is the Town Administrator, and joined by Melinda Collins, the Vice Chair of the Select Board, Richard Wells, member of the Select Board, and Tony Farrington, who's the Secretary of the Select Board.
Thank you all for coming.
So I guess the big question initially, Mr. Asher, is do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Well, how good is the good news and how bad
Very
is the
good.
bad
The good news is very good.
Well, start with that.
All right, so the good news has to do with the budget and our efforts over the last several months to remedy what was a $675,000 deficit for FY20 because of the issue with trash and recycling that emerged this summer. And so I'm going to let Mr. Dennehy give you the good news about that, because that has only come to pass, I think, Thursday afternoon?
Last Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday. So this is very timely, and I'm going to turn over the good news to Mr. Dennehy, and then I'll give you the bad news.
Thank you.
Bad news is just timing.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chairman, thanks for having me, members of the committee. Yeah, a little bit of good news. Again, Department of Redundancy Department. We're back here again trying to solve a shortfall in town government. So just out of the abundance of caution, we called Mass Department of Revenue to make sure that we were following the proper protocol for town meeting articles with respect to budget articles. And we found out that the town of Milton may not have done it correctly in the past.
That was the bad news. I was going to give the bad news.
Okay.
You were
The
gonna
good
give
news
the
is-
good news.
the good
I'll give
news
the bad
is-
news. You give the good news.
The good news is we're balanced. We did some revenue adjustments to local receipts. The town treasurer who estimated $50,000 in investment income for the year, has already collected over $160,000 in interest.
Wow.
Which is very tangible. It's $110,000 more than we anticipated. Additionally, I have to thank the Board of Assessors and the Chief Appraiser. They revisited new growth and added a little over $47,000 of new growth to FY20. And as recently as last Thursday evening, took a look at overlay and an increased overlay surplus $50,000 as well. So if you combine that with motor vehicle excise, which we increased $50,000 based on a 2-year average. We were running a 3-year average in our local receipts report. We also talked to Mass DOR about properly capturing Milton's pilot payment. If you recall, back in February, the town received a letter from Milton Academy that they were taking their remaining 14 properties off of the tax roll, and they would make us whole by making that pilot payment. So in February, we received a check for $125,000 for FY19. We wanted to make sure that it was calculated correctly between the chief appraiser keeping it in the levy or not keeping it in the levy, and then accumulating that money as a pilot, in the pilot for local receipts. So we had underestimated our pilot receipts by that $125,000 that Milton Academy has committed to for FY20. And again, we're seeing some pretty consistent sticker sales over the first quarter of the year. So the $1 million that we had budgeted is now $1.2 million. So long story short, we're back to even for FY20. and now the bad news.
Well, so before I give you the bad news, and the bad news is just about timing and puts a little more pressure on this committee over the next couple of weeks. But before we do that, I just want to say that, this deficit emerged this summer in July, August. And since then, and right away, the town administrator, working with the town controller and our finance committee of the select board, Melinda Collins, our vice chair, and Katie Conlon, along with the school committee's finance committee, started working on this. And they worked very hard over the last several months to try to resolve this, and they have. And, if we were smart, we would give Mr. Dennehy, we would renew his contract. And, oh, wait a minute, I guess we've already done that, so we don't have to do that. So anyway, so that's the good news. We've got to where we need to be in terms of FY, at least in our view, in FY '20, and now the work will begin on FY '21. Mr. Ashe?
I have one quick question. Shortfall was 675, yes? I
Correct.
calculated 382 that has come in. What am I missing?
So let's see, we have new growth for 47,727.
Okay,
Motor vehicle excise, an additional 50,000.
right, 97.
Pilot, Amy called it 123, it's about 125.
Okay.
Trash and sticker fee, 200,
That's what I didn't get. Okay.
right? And then I didn't finish the story, you are correct. What we're going to do is take the law budget, which has been high the
Yes.
last couple of years,
Yeah.
and we haven't used all that money,
Right.
and we'll
Reverse
do a reduction of $50,000. If we need to do a reserve fund transfer at the end of the year, so be it, but that seems like a good place to start.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? I had sent this to the chairman when I received it from the principal of the high school, but he was soliciting for folks that were involved in, had their students there, for after-school clubs and activities. Are you going to revert any of that money to them so that we no longer have to sponsor or fundraise for the additional $30,000 that they were looking for?
This, and that, those two joint committees talked about no further reductions. What we were trying to mitigate was taking more from relatively
So
the
it was
big
our
four.
understanding that when we passed the budget last time, that those actually were covered. That was a big part of what we were talking about. So those were not part of the budget for FY '20?
You'd have
I
to
mean-
talk to schools. As a parent in the middle school, I got the same email that you got. But that, I don't know if that was recouped at the March meeting over it. You're talking about the discussion we had at the Council on Aging, that,
Yeah, so that whole part of it was that the after-school clubs would not be reduced. And we received an email from the principal of the high school, not middle school, but the principal of the high school.
sorry,
asking
high school,
us-
yes.
Asking us that if we had businesses that would be willing to donate goods or services that could be auctioned off, what have you, nonprofit status. There was a whole email about it.
Right, I think it was $23,000, I think the email referenced, yeah.
So is that something that they're still looking to fill?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
That wasn't a topic
so
of
none of this
discussion.
money is going towards anything for that,
No.
just so I'm clear.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that that was raised by the
It wasn't
school
raised
finance committee,
in those
subcommittee.
committee
so-
meetings we had.
So maybe that'll have to be discussed, that can be discussed in the finance subcommittee.
was-
Our finance committee meets with the school finance subcommittee, and so maybe that can be a topic to see.
It was definitely
see where
shocking
that
to
is.
receive that email as a parent, which I did pass on to the chair right away, to let him know that this was being solicited from parents. It's something that I think that we should all look at if we have a surplus of money.
Please continue.
Okay, so that's the good news.
Goes up to 19 budget.
Very good news, certainly in my view. The not-so-good news is, what Mr. Dennehy began to allude to, is that we received well, let me step back. Our plan was to have a town meeting on January 13th to resolve these and a few other issues. We heard from the Department of Revenue just last week that because the tax recap has to be done before December 31st, we needed to readjust our budget before the tax recap. And that has not, as I understand it, been the practice in past years. In past years, there have been town meetings after December 31st to resolve this. The Department of Revenue has been quite clear that that should not be the case this year. And so that would require us to move our January 13 town meeting back to December 2nd. So that will give both the assessors and the town treasurer the time to do what they need to do with respect to the tax recap in order to meet to the December 31st deadline. So we are now in the process of trying to plan a December 2nd, because even though we have resolved the budget deficit, we need to vote on moving things in order to do that. So we're in the process of trying to plan for that. We have not voted. Our board has not voted to cancel January 13 and move to December 2nd out of courtesy to this board to get your views first. We're in session tonight, so if once we let you know and we have that discussion, we will vote that. We have, and we can go through the articles, but we have, mindful of the fact that this is a very short time frame, we have kept the number of articles as short as possible, at least on our view, as short as possible, so that it wouldn't be too much of a, I mean, it will be a burden on this committee, but we've tried to keep the burden as light as possible.
Well, there are 11 warrant articles, yes?
Well, we're down to
Down to
10.
10.
And some of them.
Where did the 11th go?
The 11th was.
Something combined that we
No,
missed?
well, the 11th was number 7, the electronic voting.
Okay.
We haven't voted to include that.
Okay.
And I can go through that. I can go through the reasons why we haven't, but one of the reasons is the timing makes it difficult. And it may make it prohibitive with respect to getting the technology in place to do it by December 2nd. But it would certainly be difficult, even if we could get, and it's possible, even if we could get the technology in place, it would make it difficult, I think, to get through the meeting in one night, which is the goal, our goal, the select board's goal, given the fact that we're asking people to hurry up and have this meeting in order to meet the Department of Revenue's requirements.
And there's no waiver that we could get from them to make this manageable?
Apparently, the town accountant and the town administrator have vetted this with several levels of the Department of Revenue.
They worked very well with us on the phone call, but
Yeah.
the exact quote was, just because you parked in front of the fire hydrant yesterday and didn't get a ticket, doesn't mean you can park in front of the fire
Got it.
hydrant
Okay,
today.
so, yeah, understood.
We tried.
Well, I can honestly say, I'll ask for the sense of the committee, but we have plugged before to get things done. And if it's important, it sounds like this is important, we may have to do the same thing. So I will ask for the sense of the committee before we begin, is this something that we can consider, kind of moving this along? And I would say that what we would need is some clarification on some of these appropriations, where there are no numbers. I mean, we'd have to understand exactly what we're talking about and moving what and putting where.
Sure.
I would think that's important, and if we can get that between now, we have a tentative meeting for Wednesday in anticipation of this request. We will do our best to accommodate for the good of the town.
Appreciate that. We appreciate it.
You know, nobody gets a gold star for doing nothing, right?
Right. So, Mr. Chair, would you like us to go through
Please do.
the articles now?
And I would also say the reservation, one of the reservations we have is that we would need planning board representation to talk to us about a couple of these, and I don't know that we're going to be able to get that tonight. Is there anybody who can kind of explain? One of these we've talked about before, the planning board membership and the associate member. We have a little bit of background on that, and I know it has gone through iterations over the past several weeks, months. And I guess that one particularly, and the other ones that they've got, the wetlands regulations might be of some value to understand what the thinking is and how that is going to work. We also have a citizen's petition, which is, I guess, now Article 10 rather than 11, that we would need to invite that individual, or at least make it possible for that individual to come and speak if he chooses. And that's kind of short notice, but we'll do what we can. So anyway, if you want to start, please do, and please, committee, questions are very important at this juncture. So if you want to start with the Milton Landing revolving account, I think that's self-evident, but go ahead.
On the revolving account, there is an RFP out there's an RFP plan, it's not out yet, RFP plan for that area that includes rental and a lease of the area. And so this is, I view this as a ministerial article to set up an account into which those funds from any lease or rental would be deposited.
I'm wondering if it's this straightforward, if there's no objection, we should probably take a vote on it. At this point, just to begin the process, I would think that would be in order. Does anybody have any objection to the idea?
No.
Just to set up an account is, I don't have any problem with that.
Is this new? Where were the monies going before this account?
Well, there's no monies, as far as I
No,
know.
the Parks Department was receiving
Okay.
the monthly rent check is what it
Okay.
is right now, from the 25 Wharf parcel.
Is
That's the yacht clubs?
The yacht club, the lockup,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is to keep that money in the landing.
Okay.
There was major roof work done this
Yep.
past spring to restore the roof of the lockup. And that money had to be found because there wasn't such an account for which to draw from.
So
Okay.
it's not, excuse me, sorry. So it's not like a regulatory requirement or an audit purposes to track money, like income.
No, it's just to make sure that
It's more
what-
to make sure the money that comes
It's
from Milton
earmarked.
Landing stays
Stays
in
in.
Milton Landing. Okay.
Exactly.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Yep.
So
And the
this-
Parks Department isn't gonna have to make up this money in a different way.
No,
They've
they're
been
aware of
relying-
it.
Been
They're aware of
segmented.
it.
I think it's
Yeah.
been segmented anyway. It's its own line item.
They were using it to maintain some of the fields, but they're aware that this, I believe
Can't
it's
happen anymore.
$1,400 a month in rent is now gonna stay down the landing to help preventive
Makes
maintenance.
it cleaner.
Yeah. Would
Yeah.
they be the
Exactly.
authority to withdraw from this revolving account if necessary? The Parks
Would they
Department?
be the- I-
The Parks Department?
No, it would probably be the town administrator and
Okay,
the
so
select board.
okay.
Yep.
So,
I see that as a good control.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we can probably vote on that. Does anybody have any questions about that or any discussion items? So the chair will entertain a motion to approve Article 1 and recommend it be adopted by the town meeting.
So moved. All right.
A second? Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. No opposition? Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So the next two articles address the budget. The first one is the appropriation of the amendment to the departmental appropriations, and I don't believe there's an actual article in here, unless it's, oh, there is.
Yeah.
There is. It was just flipped in my package. And we can talk about the debits and credits on that. I don't know that they received the spreadsheet, but we can talk about the debits and credits on that. And then the other one is the stormwater.
Yeah.
The stormwater.
Mr. Chair,
and-
can you clarify which one we're discussing right
which-
now? We need
Oh,
the
yeah,
actual title,
we need-
sorry.
we need
Oh,
the
sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
All
So
of us
number,
down
Packets are a
here.
little.
yeah, so what I
Not
have
number,
as
but I
number
need the
2 is amendment to appropriation departmental budgetets. Do you have?
Yep,
Okay, hang
that's-
on.
Okay, all right. But
Okay,
I have it
it's
as
like-
number,
it's
the
like-
third one in the packet.
It's the
Yeah.
third or fourth
Okay.
for some of
In the
you.
packet.
Making sure you're all paying
Fourth one that I
attention.
have. Amendment to departmental budget. So this is actually Article number 2
Yes,
in the
that's
warrant.
exactly right.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's make sure we have that one. All right. So Lynn, you've got that, can you get that one too? Okay, fine. So make that
Sorry to
change in my
reassemble these.
copy so I don't forget
You did a
it.
great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did, yes, thank
At
you very
last
much.
minute's
But let's
notice,
just make sure we
yes.
get the numbering right, because if we do have to draft, when we assign the article numbers, we want to make sure we're all doing the right ones. So this is to see what sums of money the town will vote to amend the appropriations voted at the May 2019 annual town meeting in order to offset the increase in solid waste and recycling collection and disposal costs for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2019, and to determine how said appropriations shall be raised, whether by transfer from available funds or otherwise, and to act on anything related thereto.
So this is the how to remedy the budget deficit. And we can now, as Mr. Dennehy went through some of the debits and credits earlier, I mean, we can go through those debits and credits now, but essentially this language will allow us to move the money so
The
we can-
110,000 in interest income, what you just did.
All
Okay.
that stuff.
110,000, 47 in new government, in new growth, $50,000 in increased overlay, $50,000 from increase in motor vehicle excise tax receipts, $125,000 in pilot from Milton Academy, $200,000 transfer from the trash sticker fee, and there's $43,000 miscellaneous? Or did I miss something?
Yeah,
somewhere?
roughly. So the 39 miscellaneous
39. sorry.
is what we're anticipating in health insurance opt-out savings.
Health insurance opt-out. Okay, and so this amendment addresses gathering all of those funds and segmenting them and moving it, I don't want to say shell game because the connotation is bad, but funneling them into the right places so that we can balance what we have to balance.
Yep.
Okay, and those are the figures?
It'll look like a cash settlement in the warrant article.
Got it, okay, and that's, Amy can create
Yep.
that.
Now that my board approved it, the finance subcommittees, we talked about it last Wednesday, the numbers are there, we can get you everything that's going to move left and right. The only
Okay.
thing it doesn't account for is the next article we're going to talk about, which is stormwater,
Okay.
which is separate.
Do we have questions, discussion? Would
About
we
the
like to vote
specifics.
on this, or do we want to wait to see that
I'd
table?
like to wait to see.
I'd like to see the
I
numbers.
think that's fair. Yeah.
Is our recommendation going to need the specific numbers?
I
rather than
think
just-
necessarily we have to see what
Need
we're
to see.
recommending.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Because this
I-
is
you
a
know,
rather broad authority.
You'll get that first thing tomorrow morning.
That would be helpful, and we'll send it around to
It's a
everybody.
one-page summary, it shows
Perfect.
you literally
That's fine.
debits and credits.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's Article 2.
Of the
It's gonna
line
show,
items,
sorry, it's gonna
please.
show where it's gonna be moved to?
Right. Where
Yes.
it's coming from and where it's going.
Where it's coming from and how it balances.
That's helpful. Yeah,
And
that'll do.
where it's gonna go?
By the budget line items.
Thank you.
I mean, essentially, it's going to
Thank you.
go, where it's going to go
Yeah.
is into the
Trash
trash
and
and
It's going to
recycling,
go to the solid waste line.
solid waste.
Right.
Thank you. I was looking for that.
Well, that's there, so we can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
this is one that we'll vote on, assuming that we have a Wednesday meeting. Okay, Article 3, stormwater, which is the one in our packet immediately before
Yes.
this.
Does that have a number?
Now it does, number 3. Okay, take it away.
And so Mr. Denny can walk you through, this again has to do with amending the appropriation so that we can come into balance. So, Mr. Denny, if you
So
want.
stormwater is an enterprise fund, as we're all aware.
Mike, I'm sorry, can you just, define for the uninitiated what an enterprise fund actually is?
So what comes in has to go out. Anything that we collect in revenue has to be expended. It's usually capital projects.
Right.
One of the expenditures in the stormwater enterprise is yard waste collection and processing fees or transfer fees when the material goes from the truck to the processor. Based on that same contract that came in after town meeting approval, the stormwater enterprise has to be adjusted approximately $223,000 for the fee to collect and then distribute that to a handler for the material. So this is a separate article because it is technically regulatorily in the stormwater enterprise fund.
Okay,
Are you raising that rate?
So that,
cost for the-
right,
individual
that
people?
increase will ultimately lead to a increase in the stormwater rate this year.
do we have a sense of what the magnitude
We
of that
have,
increase is?
that committee is still looking for one more member before we meet. We usually meet last week of October, so,
Wow.
yeah.
When does that, is there a statutory date by which that has to be published?
We're on schedule,
Okay,
yeah.
I hope you stay on schedule.
Right.
I think this is in everybody's interest. Okay, good. Okay, so please continue.
And that's the sum of it, basically,
Okay.
is we have to adjust we will adjust the expenditure side, and then the second piece of that is adjusting the rates to collect the revenue to accommodate the expenditures.
Do we have to see the adjustment in the rates before we,
As
I mean,
part of-
it would be kind of,
Why wouldn't it?
I would think we'd have to, right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of difficult to come up with a
Let me,
recommendation
let
if
me
we
check
don't
with
have a
Chase
sense.
Berkeley. And I had asked him
that's
if we
gonna
needed
be.
to meet sooner rather than later, and we usually meet this time of year. We had Jay Fundling, who was our
Yeah,
best expert ever. If you remember, he came up with the Jenks dispersion model,
Yes.
which fixed our conundrum in the fourth. He's on several other committees in town and has stepped away, so we've been looking to fill that slot, but I'll check with Chase to see if.
yeah, I think we need to see that number. I mean, it'd be very hard
I
to,
don't think we can make a recommendation.
yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think it'd be very hard to do that. But, so if we want to stay on schedule, that kind of has to come tomorrow, because if we're voting Wednesday and we have to draft these things up and they have to be at the printer, on the 8th?
From Friday.
We have to see that number immediately. And I'm not being difficult about it, I'm just
Yep.
saying, this is, important.
Yep.
Okay. When we have that number, then we can have that, so
Is
we'll,
there any other options other than raising those rates? Is there like a plan A, plan B for that possibly?
That's where I'd have to check with Chase. He puts that budget together. I don't know what his,
Just in case it falls on the neighbors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's one of those zero-sum things. If,
Right.
we last year, and I don't want to get off track with this, last year we
No,
talked
I
about coming
understand.
up with a credit system for
yeah,
it.
sure.
We're still the committee was still working on that.
Would it make sense to ask Chase to come Wednesday, assuming we have a meeting?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming
Yep.
we will. That would be helpful,
Yep.
because he can answer, he can probably
Yeah,
answer
I
the question off the
apologize.
top of his
I
head.
don't have the-
Listen, there's a lot of moving parts, you're doing fine. Okay, that one we'll vote on next meeting, too. All right, please, let's continue.
Don't forget about the carryover and expenditure local option, which is in our packet as number 2.
That, we'll go back, we're going
Oh,
through
we're
these in
gonna
the
go back?
order that they're going to be
So
in
that's the
the
one that's out of
warrant.
place.
Several, I think, are out of
Okay.
place, but that's okay.
All right. I
Okay.
just don't want us to lose that.
Please continue.
So the sewer betterment appropriation is what I have as number 4
Hang on one second.
on the list.
Find that.
Yes.
But he-
Is that the Randolph Ave?
Exactly.
It
That's
doesn't have a
exactly right.
title.
Doesn't have.
Doesn't have a title? Okay, which,
It's just after,
oh, here, I've got it, right. So this is Article 4.
Article 4.
Starting to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money to design and construct sewer lines to provide municipal sewage disposal for the Randolph Avenue between Artwell and Gun Hill. That's the one we're talking about.
That's exactly right.
That's Article 4.
That's right.
Okay,
And
please.
this one similarly came out of the DPW and then engineering department.
John Thompson was approached, yeah.
Of the town, and Mike, you can go into the detail, but this, after the article, you'll see some of the estimated cost for this project and where the money will be coming from, but Mike, you might want to go into more detail.
So the town engineer was approached by several residences along Randolph Ave as you head northbound from the church up to Artwell Street.
Academy, yeah.
Actually, it's past Artwell Street, towards the brook. And they
Always
were
been a
subsequently, the environmental coordinator got involved, that they think some of the septic in that area, those 9 homes are on septic. And what they're
Really?
asking to do is go on the
I
town
had
sewer
no idea
system.
there was anything still on a
Yeah.
septic in the
Well,
town.
sorry, there's 2 of those homes out of the 9 on that stretch.
Okay.
Are not septic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they actually tie into a line on Gun Hill. They're on the eastbound side as you head north. But everything else is septic, and I don't know if it was DEP. Someone had concern that brook that sits there that connects Milton Academy may be impacted. So it's in the town's best interest for several reasons
Yeah.
to put these people on the town's sewer system.
And they will be assessed
Yes.
to offset this? So how did, logistically, just for the good of the order, how, when we expend the funds, we put the money out, the town spends the money to do this?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no, not necessarily. I think it's 50/50 in this case. They put up 50% of the cost. The
residents.
town puts up 50% of the cost, yeah.
The residents, and the
Yeah.
town has the cash to do this, and the residents have the cash to do this, or how is it assessed, or how does it collected?
It goes on their bill.
It goes on the
right?
tax bill or
Yeah.
the sewer bill?
It goes on their
Water
sewer bill, and
water
it's
sewer.
done twice in the past. We did a section of Woodland
Yeah.
years ago, and we did a section of, I'm gonna forget this now, we were talking about it Friday. This is the 3rd time it's happened.
What is the average cost?
Forbes Road, there you go.
What's the cost for the average, and what would be the average cost for the resident? I'm just curious.
I think
tie into
the
the
average
sewer.
was 33,000 per
And
house.
so they get zapped, so they have to come up with the 33 in one year, or do
They don't know, it's paid over time, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Or if you want,
they could pay it in
they
a
can pay,
single lump?
yeah. Yeah, Forbes Road, that's right, John.
Oh, I see, oh, yeah, okay. Okay, and the town has the cash set aside for this?
Yes, they have capital money to do this project. I believe it was requested in the annual town meeting, in their budget.
Does anybody have any questions? This seems
The
straightforward.
33,000, does the homeowner pay half of the 33,000 or the full 33,000?
I think it's half the 33,000. I have a spreadsheet in my head that we worked through on Friday I should have brought with me.
I think they pay the whole 33.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it's 2/3 will be recouped by the sewer boundary charges assessed to 9 per properties at 3% interest per year.
I can have the town engineer or Chase, well, if Chase is going to be here Wednesday, he can, yeah.
Chris?
I'm just confused by something, and it might be because I don't understand how this is written. With what you just said, it's from the capital fund
Is that right, that it's going to, that the town will pay for it?
So it's from the water and sewer enterprise,
Okay,
right? So
you-
there's a capital outlay every year that, right? We borrow to repair infrastructure in town every year. As a part of the capital improvement planning committee, they allocate improvements. It's from that dollar amount.
Well, in that case, why doesn't it say that? It says it's to determine how appropriation shall be raised, whether by borrowing or otherwise, as opposed to saying straightforwardly.
Where are you looking at this? Sorry, Chris.
I'm looking
Find
at,
out.
It's like the fifth line down, how said appropriation shall be raised, whether by borrowing or otherwise. I mean, it gives you a great deal of latitude, is what
Right.
it does. I can see, Chris, I see the point, the drafting here is,
yeah, I mean, if that's where it's gonna come
Yeah.
from, that's what this should say.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there an issue with redrafting an article at this point?
No.
Okay, fine, I just want to make sure.
Unless there's some reason from town council that it needs to be written this way.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is typically the way those articles are drafted, to give the town the latitude to, if there are other avenues to do it. But in this one,
Since you have it already
maybe-
defined, why not be specific?
In this one, maybe we could.
Particularly
make it-
because we're talking about moving money from hither and yon, and I think that would give many of us, and certainly the townspeople who are going to ask the question, the assurance that we're not going and borrowing for something where we've already got the cash,
Sure.
et cetera.
Although I understand the general point.
Yeah, no, I get it, but if it is, I take to the, thank God we have clever lawyers in this room. Go ahead, Aaron.
Have all the property owners that are gonna be impacted by this, have they been notified of this?
All but two have replied.
All but two, and all but two have agreed to this? Because the eminent domain piece in here makes me a little bit nervous.
That, I don't have the answer to your second question.
I believe that's the statutory language.
Yeah.
I understand that it's statutory language, but if this is something that they're not opting to do,
So
I'm just, I think that the eminent domain, and I understand statutory.
it's my understanding from a conversation with Chase and John Thompson last Friday that the connection is made to their house. Whether they pick it up or not is where they pick up an abundance of the cost,
I see.
right?
So they won't be assessed if they don't make that.
They'll be assessed for
connection.
for the ability to connect to it. And if they decide at some point in time to connect, then I think.
Then they have to
Then I
pay.
think the number
Kicks in.
rises, yeah.
So that they're not included in these 9 properties at 3% interest for 20 years?
They should be. I think everything on that list, so I saw a map that had red, that was 7, and green that was, 2 that were green. The 2 that were green, I understand to be on the, if I recall the map correctly, on the northeast side of the map. They're already on the town's plan.
So if they don't agree to this, then it will only be 7 properties will be assessed more, so those 7 properties will be paid more if they choose not to connect it to their house, is that correct?
No, because I think most of the money comes from tying from the street main into the house
So whether or not they want this, they're still gonna be assessed.
for the connection piece, not the full, not all the way through.
I'm looking at the 450,000.
I'm missing the question.
The question is you've got 9 properties that are being assessed at a 3% interest for 20 years.
Right.
If those 2 properties do not agree to it, then are you looking at 7 properties, or are you still looking at 9 properties?
John's going to have to answer that question. I apologize.
That's fine, it's Wednesday,
Alright.
that's fine.
Yep.
Keep that when he comes on
I will.
Wednesday, we can ask him that question. I think this is also one when you have a couple
Yeah,
of those
that's the question,
answers.
too. 2 of them are already on the sewer line, so.
Yes,
they're
but I
gonna be
think,
see what I'm
assessed.
saying?
Why
I
would it be
understand 2 of
assessed?
them not to have answered.
Okay.
They haven't
I would say
responded.
those 2 will have responded.
Yes.
That's all we're hoping
Moot
for.
everything.
That'll be made, that will make it easy. Okay, I think we'll table this one until Wednesday also, and when Chase is here, he can explain to us the,
He'll dazzle you
Details.
as I fumble through.
he always does.
Is this the stuff of dazzling?
Sewer line,
Yeah.
dazzling.
All of town government is dazzling.
Well, when it's done well, yes, of course. Okay, please continue.
Number 5, home rule petition. And so this should be the next page in your,
Is this the harbor master?
this is the harbor master.
Okay, so this
Home
is
rule
Article
petition
5.
To exempt the harbor master from civil service law, and I'm going to ask the chair of our Milton Landing Committee, Mr. Wells, to talk about this article.
Also, thank you. I just texted one of the, Mr. Chair, you aware that the chair of the planning board is out of the country?
We know.
How would I know?
Yeah, we
So
know
I
that.
just-
We just discovered that in conversation
I just want to
this
make sure you
evening.
knew that, because I heard
Yeah.
I get the timeline here that you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
get
we
this
need,
done.
it would be great to have her deputy or Bill come, or somebody who's
Just
aware
send a
of all
couple
these
texts
things.
right now for you.
Thank you.
so.
Just make sure that Wednesday, it looks like Wednesday is going to
did
be
say that to the-
critical to us, yes. Okay.
Good evening. So,
Thank you for coming.
thank you, and thank you all. Welcome back, and welcome to the new members. So just to be very quick, the MPIC had done a ton of work on the landing, and we formed a landing subcommittee to deal with, the landing is, from a water perspective, has truly changed over the past 10 to 15 years. There's 60 boats, 2 yacht clubs, there's passive recreation every day, there's crew. So in developing the RFP, we realized that we had to create a harbor master. And we've been to the personnel board, we've created a part-time position, like a stipend position. It's already approved. As we went to do this, we learned that when the town, back to Mr. Cronin, removed nearly every job from civil service, we did not remove a harbor master because we didn't have a paid harbor master. So before we can fill that position, we've been advised by town council and the AG's office that we have to remove it from the provisions of civil service first. So we've added it to the special town meeting because both our legislative representatives say they will do it in this session, they'll move it quickly and have it done by July. So that we can then, because otherwise we have to fill this on an interim position. We cannot fill the position unless we take it out of civil service.
Okay. Questions?
Go ahead.
No, but you might anticipate my question.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
So I don't know enough about the civil service law, and you anticipated what I was going to ask, I think, by saying that various positions have been already taken out of civil
Every
service.
position that I'm, and town administrator can tell me where I'm wrong, I believe it's every position except police and fire. And in the police department, both the chief and the deputy chiefs have been removed from civil service
Right, the
years
rest
ago.
have to be.
Yeah. Everyone else is in civil service. But every person that worked in this building, DPW, everywhere, when they did this in I think the 70s or 80s, came out of civil service. But because we didn't have a paid harbor master, that job did not come out. And so just to fill it, even in a part-time seasonal job,
Yeah.
we have to remove it from civil service. And to be honest with you, it's been so long since I've even looked at a civil service position. I think it would have to be like a statewide test or a statewide posting.
There's a statewide
Yeah,
test,
like a
and there's
state-
actually a list. And so you might be able to actually hire from another nearby town that has somebody waiting to be on that list. So it's actually, it actually has some meaning. My question would be further as to why is this a citizen's petition and not something from the select board?
It's not a citizen's position.
It's
This
not a
is from us.
citizen's, no.
It's a home rule. It's a home rule
Oh, I
position.
thought, I'm
Oh, no.
sorry, I thought I heard
we only have one
citizen's
citizen.
petition.
No,
And
it's
I'm
from
like,
us.
what is
Oh, no.
going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Oh, no, this is from us.
It's okay, but we only have one citizen's petition, that's fine. Everybody, yeah, it's perfectly fine.
I'm like, what citizen's petition? I didn't even see the citizen petition.
That's what got me.
No, it's a home rule petition. So a home rule petition means
Oh, I know.
similar to anything else we do, is we're going to exempt this one position. And so if we get it done now, it'll be done by July.
Is there any advantage to having a civil service in that position? I don't know enough about it, I'm totally neophyte about this, so I just asked the question out of ignorance.
Mandatory salary for
There
civil
is.
service.
There must be
You have to
something,
get
I would
it off the
imagine
list.
so,
I
yeah.
know the list is updated every other year.
I was trying to educate myself ahead of the meeting, and I forget it.
So even, and I spoke to Mr. Cronin about this because he oversaw when they all
What do our
came out.
neighboring towns have? I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure
they're-
Quincy has a harbor master in
They do.
Braintree. and
They're all
Weymouth.
different. So Quincy, they're all full-time, and we're
Yeah, I
never
would think
going
so.
to be
Yeah,
into
because
it. And
they've got
been-
Marina Bay and all
they've
this
given
other-
great guidance to us in this. We're not looking to, but we do need to manage this.
Yep.
Carolyn, we don't know.
What do you contemplate, if the harbor master is part-time, I'm guessing, is it going to be a paid position? And
Stipend.
A stipend,
Stipend.
okay.
About $10,000
Quincy has a
a year.
full-time harbor master. I
Quincy is-
understand that because they have this, huge
It's
coast
a
in the
Civil
bay.
service
and-
or no?
Yes.
They're civil
Is Quincy a
service?
civil servant?
So they're all different. So Quincy and Boston are police, they're within the police department. They're units. They're like multiple, I think Boston's 20 people. Quincy's, I think, 5. Braintree is very similar to what we want to do with stipend position, and they're in a similar, they have one river. We have one river. We have about 2 miles of coast.
Yeah, it's
But it's
tiny.
more and more busy every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Question for you, is there an advantage to having them be civil servants as far as safety?
No.
Nothing, they still have to go through the same training?
Yes,
as a
so the civil service is just,
Emergency,
That's, the law is very clear, and I can send you, I mean, all the work we've done, all the work the town administrator has done, the Commonwealth has created the Acts of 2008, which created standards for harbor masters across the Commonwealth, whether you're part-time or full-time,
Or whether you're in the civil service or not.
whether you're in civil service or
So
not.
if they have to comply with that, it
Everyone
seems like
does.
this would simplify the process for us filling that
But is there
position.
currently a list available of those that are
No.
seeking for harbor master positions?
Not that I've seen. I couldn't even find it in the civil, I couldn't even find it, I couldn't find a civil service harbor master.
Is our,
If somebody's looking for a job, we should,
well, if they have if they have the competence, yeah. I mean, I have the sense that this is something we might be able to vote on if nobody objects. I'm just
Michael's gonna
thinking.
say
So I was just going to say, practically speaking, what we had discussed in our board, and we didn't take a position one way or the other, practically speaking, it could be done within civil service if it went through the police department. So that was really one of the
Is there an
one of the
advantage
questions.
to that?
Well, it might be, that's a question, but we still, to appoint the harbor master, we have to take it out of civil service. The harbor master really has a lot of
This
authority.
is step one, then.
This is step one. And
Do
our
we
board's
have-
already voted
Yeah.
to authorize the town administrator to appoint this
Do
position.
we have a sense of the committee, if this is something we can vote on based on that
I
information?
felt like that was incomplete. I feel like there's more information.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I mean, we've had some discussion about, whether the harbor master should be appointed by the town administrator, appointed by the police chief from the police department. Our board hasn't really come down one way or the other on that. This is a way to open it up and allow the town administrator to make the appointment. If we didn't do this, then the only practical way to do it, as I understand it, would be through the police chief and the police department. So that's the way that's the way
Which
I.
would just make the process lengthier, is that?
I'm sorry?
It would just make the process lengthier to
Which
appoint
would?
some, the process of appointment.
If we go this route?
No, what I understood you just to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
and I don't want to belabor
Yeah, no,
something.
no, no,
Right,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no, no, this is worth knowing, yeah.
But what I thought I heard you say was, if we don't do this,
Right.
we'd have to put it within the police department, which would, the consequence of that is what? That it would delay the appointment of a harbor master?
I don't know
or
that
it
that's true. I mean, one of the things that, again, we discussed in our meeting, we haven't taken, the board hasn't voted, so I'm not speaking for the board, but one of the things we discussed in our meeting is if we did it on an interim basis, the only way to do it,
Yeah,
on
the
an
only way to do
interim basis,
Uh-huh.
sooner, would be to have the police chief appointed through the police department, going through civil service, right? But if you want the town administrator to make the appointment, either within or without the police department, right, then you'd have to do this.
Which is what the landing, our subcommittee
Has
came to the
recommended.
conclusion after looking at all the work the MPIC had done in our own discussions, like, we, the ones who went and talked to the other communities, like, that no one, so this would have already been done. We lost a whole summer. We've already created the position, gone to the personnel board, got it approved, was ready to move on it, and found out from town council, this is still in the civil service, it was never removed.
Doug, do you have a
Mr.
question?
Chair, is there any benefit to having it under the
No,
police
I don't
department?
see any.
Does
Be
a
honest with
harbor
you?
master position have any sort of inherent law enforcement?
Yes, so
Rights,
any,
responsibilities.
either way, no
Over
matter
time.
what, under the guidelines created in the
a lot of
Commonwealth,
ways.
a harbor master has authority. So,
So if you're
no matter who it
drunk
is,
in
it's-
your boat, your harbor master can arrest you and pull you
Absolutely.
over for drunk driving.
absolutely, but it's
So
even more
what
than that.
benefit? Yeah, are there benefits for having it under the police department?
There are. If
Because
we
of
were
that?
bigger, I would say yes, but for the things that we're trying to do really is we're trying to manage the waterfront. We
Yep.
don't know if you've gone down there,
Yeah.
it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
It's negligent on us. We don't know who's paying excise tax. We don't know who's pumping out what. We don't know anything. Into what Michael had spoken about in the revolving account. And it's not the park department's fault. When they created the lease back in 2002, they thought that the park department would come in and do all these and it never happened.
Right.
So they parked the money there. And so this year, when the town administrator and the director of consolidated facilities found that there was some significant issues with the building, we found that $140,000 of rent over the past 10 years was just going to ball fields, and we didn't put $1
Into the
into the waterfront.
waterfront.
Well, I was just wondering if this, sounds like there might be also some sort of enforcement.
There is, and
In
it's,
the
I mean, this
area,
is a
it
simple
is-
thing, and to me,
But they don't carry
we did
guns.
vote though,
Oversight
I
that.
don't, just to correct the chair, we did vote back in May, we took a fight to have this not be our appointment, authorize the town administrator to fill this.
Yeah,
This
And
this
in
would
order
have
to
all
do
been
that-
done had we not hit the hurdle on civil service.
John.
When you get a harbor master, you're gonna have to get him a boat.
We have a boat. We're not worried about, we're not asking you for any money.
Yeah.
We don't
No, I
want a
get that.
dime.
That's
We don't
good.
want anything.
That's why this is a little
Just-
easier.
There's no money in this. We just need administratively to remove something that should have been removed 30 years
It
ago.
strikes me that if with that and the information we've got, I wonder if we can take this vote
Who would have
tonight.
oversight of the harbor master if he's not?
Town
on the police
administrator.
Town
department?
administrator.
We want the, it's
Call
my
Mike
belief
if you get a problem.
that we want the
Well,
town
I mean, it
administrator to
just,
see
in his
it.
law enforcement duties or anything, so Mr. Denny,
Either way, Mr. Denny is going to
exceptionally
have
capable, of
oversight of.
directly oversight of the harbor master and his duties.
We're not
in-
talking, yeah, but we're not talking about, Miami Beach here.
No,
We're talking
I'm-
about,
but there
I mean,
is
I
a
look at this
principle
place every
involved, and I
morning.
just
It's
wanted
not a big
clarification
space.
of that. We're not have Miami, but it still
Yeah,
is a
well,
law
I mean,
enforcement position. I just want
Understood.
clarification of it.
Understood, Chris.
I mean, I get that, Doug, but
Yeah.
I mean, my own view of this is that it just sounds like as a practical matter, I don't know why we would insist on having this stay as
Civil
a civil
servant,
servant
yeah.
position, and it sounds like what we're trying to have the harbor master accomplish, notwithstanding the law enforcement duties such as they are over 2 miles of riverbank, that what we're trying to have him accomplish is simply manage the waterfront.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I don't
Yeah.
see why he needs to be a
They
civil
can
servant
do
in company.
canoe.
I
just was more
suggest-
about the organizational
I
structure.
suggest a vote. I suggest a vote. Will the
I have
chair
one
will?
thing to say, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead. Make it quick.
You want the job.
No.
You'd be very good at this.
Yeah, well, no, I'm joking. But the harbor master, for me, the thing that, is still coming to my head is that you still have to maybe police.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm asking you to do that.
So that, to me, holds a higher responsibility than just like, I don't even know, the harbor master, other than just regulating and seeing that everything is okay. So for me,
He's not the guy just
It's more,
collecting the marina
it-
fees.
right, it's not just.
You're going to
if there's
get
a-
that.
if there's an
I don't want you to worry about it. You're going to get that. Right now, what
But
now?
that's why
right-
the civil
yeah.
service and the policing part, that's for me, my background is something that, when there's an emergency, you call first responders,
As is
this
mine.
person has that, so, right.
As is
you know.
mine. So I'm not worried about that.
But this is not about the organizational structure.
Right.
No,
This
this
is
is
just
about where it's going to
He's a civil
fit.
servant.
Right,
We
exactly.
can't do any of that, no matter what your
Yes.
thoughts,
do it
my
unless
thoughts
we-
are. We
unless
can't
we
do anything
recommend.
until we
Only
remove it.
questions to clarify.
But these are
the-
questions that we're gonna ask anyway, because we
Right,
need to
and that's
understand
perfectly
before we
fine.
actually take a vote.
So we have,
Thanks for clarifying that.
so we have a motion to approve this.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Approved.
All right.
All right, that's Article 5. We're doing well, gentlemen and ladies. Next.
Next article will
Mr.
be
Lewis,
Article 6,
Which is
which I believe is next in your packet.
article with no number to see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 2.
This is the article to...
Electronic voting?
No,
Oh, all right.
This is Article 7 to allow the Select Board to accept easements.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not the next one in my packet.
Wait, what?
It's the next
Yeah,
one
let me
in
get-
line, but it's
Fiscal,
not named.
fiscal year
or numbered.
2020?
Yep.
Yes.
Fiscal year 20 to accept the easements for
I
any
don't have that.
all purposes roads.
No, I can get it. Oh, thanks. Okay.
Right to go in there without asking.
Yeah, I don't have that in this one. Okay. Okay, please continue.
So this, again, this one I view as largely ministerial. It gives the authority to the Select Board to accept easements on behalf of the town. It only pertains to easements that are accepted, abandoned, or relocated at no cost to the town. And so, again, I don't view this as a particularly substantive article, other than to give the Select Board the authority that it needs to accept easements on behalf of the town.
Where do they go now?
I'm sorry?
Where do they go now?
They should go to us. That's where they don't go anywhere if they don't go to us. In other words, if we don't have the authority for this fiscal year, there's no one to.
Nobody collects them?
No, an easement.
Oh,
An
okay.
easement, no money, no.
No money.
It's
Oh,
not an
okay.
assessment.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
an
I'm
easement
sorry.
of property, George.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time, please?
An easement of property? Yeah, sorry.
No,
Like creating a sidewalk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or a right-of-way.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
okay.
So, but George's question, let me ask it differently, like, how does it work?
They just do it.
Who does it?
Yeah, but
So-
who keeps track of it, I guess, is the question.
Engineering. Public
Engineering.
Works
Engineering
Department.
keeps track of it, so
Yes.
they know where all
This
the
is a-
rights of way are and passages.
This is
and-
an article that usually takes place in town meeting, and it just slipped through the cracks. Town council identified the fact that it wasn't in the packet with annual town meeting this year.
So
They
it
need,
happens
the
annually?
select board needs that,
Well, this is for every
that
fiscal
authority
year.
every year,
I got
for every
it.
fiscal
So
year.
this is not a payment for an easement.
No,
this is-
Easement,
This
I would
this
say
is,
that
just
was my
gives them the
confusion.
authority
Gives
to
us
say,
the
yeah.
authority to accept the easement on behalf of the town.
Oh,
And so it's, and as long as there's no cost to the town.
right.
And this is an
So-
annual article.
It's an annual
It's an annual
Okay.
article, it's a
was
ministerial
missed.
article,
That
it
was
didn't
just in
happen.
I don't think we have a problem with this one. Do we have, I think the sense is we should vote on this?
I move. Second. No, he hasn't called yet.
All right,
Let me relax.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much, approved. Yeah.
Nope, no.
All right, so the next three, Mr. Chair, the next three are the planning board articles.
Okay,
We're taking out the voting technology.
right.
Taking out the electronic voting,
We're taking this is out.
taking out the electronic voting.
Okay, got it.
That one has not been voted by the select board.
Just, I don't want to
Sure.
confuse myself any
I
further.
will. Mr. Chair, the question is why we didn't vote this? And the answer is, despite, I think it's fair to say, support for this on the select board, because we're moving the meeting up from January to December, there was some question from the chair of the electronic voting committee appointed by the moderator about whether we could get the technology in place
Yes.
to do a test. The idea was, in January, we were going to try it out and see how it worked,
Right.
right? And then vote on it, right? So we're going to try it out one night, or try it out the same night, and then vote on it. And
Vote on the what, electronic?
vote on the bylaws to allow electronic
Use
voting.
electronic vote to vote whether or not we can have electronic vote.
And so, when it came up last week that we're going to have to move the special town meeting from January to December,
Yeah. Got in
we
trouble
asked the
there, yeah.
chair of the electronic voting subcommittee, or committee, rather, whether that was still feasible. I think the suggestion, the idea was, it might not be feasible to get the technology in place. Even if we do get the technology in place, I think it's going to be a heavy lift to do all of this in one night. And the goal, I believe, since the goal, at least my view and the view of the board is, because we're moving this up from January to December 2nd, we want to get it all done in one night. We don't want this to go over.
It will be
And-
10 articles, I'm hoping that we'll be able to be moving
Right.
through several of them as we have, that are
Right.
reasonably straightforward.
Right, so the thought,
Yeah, right.
the thought in the select board is that there are two things. One is we may not be able to get the technology in place, and two, in order to do the test and to instruct all of town meeting members on how they're gonna go about the test, it may prohibit us from getting this done in one night. So,
Okay,
so
we get it.
that's why it hasn't been voted by the select
That's
board.
fine, we get that.
And I'd like
Okay,
to remind folks that the town meeting in May actually did only take one night,
Yeah.
yeah,
as
that's
some of
true.
us sat there the next night.
It felt like two.
Felt like 2 nights.
Okay, so
right.
the planning board, the planning, there are 3 planning board articles, but there is still one remaining, is there not, or did I miscount?
So there are 3 planning board articles,
Yeah.
which will now be Articles 7, 8, and 9.
Right,
2 having to do with the associate member, and 1 having to do with the
Wetlands.
wetlands regulations. And then the final is the citizens petition on reducing the speed limit on Chickatobit Road, or
Right.
the approaches to Chickatobit Road to 25 miles an hour.
We don't have that.
We don't
And
have
there's a
that.
carryover.
Oh, you
they
do
have the
have-
carryover and expenditure local option, is that not going to be included?
I think that one's come off.
Oh, so that one's.
That's
taken out.
included.
Come off.
Oh, it's
That
come
one's
off? Oh, okay.
It's in our packet, it's come off.
The electronic delivery of the warrant?
Yes, that one's come off as well.
Okay,
This one here, this carryover and expenditure local option that I was
okay.
reminding
So
folks.
carryover and expenditure local option is off.
What happens to that money? Goes back into the town budget?
Depends where it is, I think. Is that the right answer, Mike?
What are we, what's, what are we?
Carryover and expenditure local option. That money, if there's excess, a balance remaining, where does the balance go now?
General fund.
General fund.
Back all into the general fund?
Yeah.
Cash. Okay. Okay, so we have an explanation on the three general, the associate planning board member, planning board associate terms, and the wetlands regulation, that we still need some input from the zoning board.
The planning board,
Planning board.
I'd rather not speak for the planning board on these.
Yeah, appropriately so. I mean, if we can make sure that someone can be here Wednesday, just to walk us through this, this would make the work easier. And we voted on 4 of these? 4 of them, right? Or 3 of them? We approved 3, sorry, 3.
Three.
Right, and we came close to one of them. So we would effectively have to vote on 7 on Wednesday, and some of the information coming from Chase will make at least 2 of them reasonably. And do we have a copy? Is the citizen's petition?
You should
I-
have.
Is the
I
citizen's
don't have it.
petition? You don't have a copy?
So,
I have one in the original pack, in the electronic version. But I wonder if, it's Alexander Whiteside suggested this.
I'd like to read that. Let me just see that.
so here's so some people have it.
Somebody has it, yeah.
Some
Some of
people
us have
have
it, and some don't.
I have multiple, like pages on it.
And I have it electronically, but, I mean, the issue is, does he...
Anybody need the language? See the language?
Yes, please.
So it's on
Thank you.
28, which is
I would love it,
Louisville.
then I don't have to turn my
It's
iPad on.
28.
Thank
You
very
can
much.
actually spread out, the language is the same, it's just multiple
28 is,
signatures.
Yeah, this one.
yeah,
You got it.
that's right, no, because 138
So
is.
come,
Please, yeah, please.
Mass Highway is, many of you in this room may know that Randolph and Chick is considered one of the 10 most dangerous intersections in the Commonwealth.
Oh, yeah.
Mass Highway has been working with the DPW, our legislators, and they've been to us now twice, twice while I was chair, with a proposal to do a major renovation. They started with like $1 million, to 1 to 2, which would have been more like a Band-Aid changing. They've come up with a potentially a $5 million proposal, which would create a roundabout there, which, if you read a little bit of the history, it's one of the most popular things that's being built in this country today from a safety perspective. Having the benefit of being police chief and having gone to many accidents there over my 30, I get the dangerousness of it.
I have a neighbor who became a quadriplegic
Yeah,
as
I
a
never-
result of an accident there.
You're right, and I never really even envisioned the roundabout. I don't think Mr. Dennehy did either when they first brought us into Mass Highway to present this to us in April, but I get it. And so this petition, I believe, is based on the fact that Mr. Whiteside, at the presentation, it was very much against the roundabout concept. But I get where Mass Highway is going in this. The one thing, and my colleagues can interject, the one thing that I think we can all agree on is that MassDOT has viewed this, analyzed it, seen the danger of it, and want to fix it correctly. And from our perspective, I don't think we'll be able to get them back if we don't do it right. Would you agree with me or disagree?
I don't know.
I don't know if we'd get them, I don't know if we'd get them back here again.
What are the implications of changing the speed limit? I mean,
No, not-
from your perspective, I know you've been chief, you were...
Yeah, so I don't,
Police
well,
chief for
first
years.
off, just
Does it
from
make a
a
difference?
policing perspective, and I don't want to speak for Chief King, but
Yeah.
I'm 99.9% sure he would agree with me. Just from a policing perspective, I don't even know how you would enforce it. Just the volume of
Right.
traffic.
I mean, if you park somebody up at one of those intersections, you could
then
clean
be
up
able to-
with
You couldn't
speeding
leave, right,
tickets.
you just couldn't.
It's always so clogged, though.
Exactly, there you go.
That's why- I
And
mean,
so
it's
that's
always
why-
so clogged, 'cause
That's
I'm not
true.
even going 25
So the
through there.
volume of it, and if you, Mass Highway did come and put a very good presentation on with this, as to how they believe this will improve that intersection, the traffic
I
flow.
mean, putting the traffic circle.
Yeah, it's not a circle, it's a roundabout, different than a rotary. So a roundabout is solid, a rotary is like
Yeah.
a born rotary. This is much smaller, where 2 lanes of traffic continuously move around at the same time.
The inner 2 lanes, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I'm not clear about is, so if you change the speed limit,
I don't know
does
if,
that have any impact at all on whether you can build a roundabout later?
I don't even know why changing the speed, I don't know, if first off, Bob said this to me, I don't know if we can, because it's a state highway, I don't even know if.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
if-
That's why we have to petition the general
Yeah, that's why
court.
we have to petition the general court. It's a very steep hill to climb, but I believe they want this in lieu of the roundabout. And one of the things you'll see from the data is the majority of both the fatal and the serious bodily motor vehicle accidents that have happened there over the past decade involved left and right turns, not speed, not speed. And so by putting the roundabout, you now form a merge where everyone can flow into it together.
Yeah, but I guess I want to go back to my question, because I get what we're talking about in terms of what you have to do to get to petition for the speed limit, whether or not you can actually get it, and then whether or not it's going to be effective. That's all fine. I still don't understand why you couldn't do this now, and later do a roundabout. Why would it prohibit?
I don't know how you'd enforce, how do you enforce
But
it?
that's not my
No, that's
question.
not what you said,
That's a
and that's
separate
what he's
question.
following up
Yeah, right, I
on,
get
is
you.
Hypothesis might be that they're mounting an argument that you don't need the rotary.
Once you do it, now we have it.
Well, you don't need the rotary because it's only 25 miles an hour there. I think that's perhaps, you know.
25
Although
miles.
if it turns out to be
Fast.
ineffective
When you're trying to take a left.
and unenforceable,
Right.
then that argument would fall flat.
Maybe we should hear from,
Well, you know it.
Yes, so let me just say,
The
for the
gentleman.
purposes of the select board,
Yep.
and I'm speaking on behalf of the select board, as with all of these articles, including the harbor master and any of them, we haven't taken a position on this. We voted to include them on the warrant, but we haven't taken a position pro or con. We haven't, and I've tried to lay out the discussion on
Oh, understood.
on the harbor master. On this one, we really haven't had a discussion.
This just
is
came
one
in.
reason why you-
Yeah, this is
Just
laying
came
it
up
on,
with
One
this
reason
is
why
in
you
our
come
lap on
here.
Wednesday.
We have the discussion on
Exactly.
behalf of the town meeting.
Exactly.
And then recommend to them.
Exactly.
The
exactly.
consensus that we
So for the
reached.
purposes of the board, you know, the board doesn't have a position on this at this time.
I'm
So
sorry, go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead, Aaron.
looking at a map, and I'm noticing that everybody that signed this is on Hillside Street. It does not look anywhere close to
There are
the.
multiple.
Well, no, you have people
Oh,
on
there is.
Brush Hill
I'm really
Road and
sorry. I'm
Garfield
only looking at
Road
the first
and
page.
Granite Ave
Because
and
I'm
Elliott
like going,
Street.
I don't know how the 25 miles an hour is gonna impact those folks down here, which I believe is where the, is that where the,
There are all sorts of streets in multiple
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
oh, there is.
yeah.
And it's, I think, 4
Different
or 5
heights.
during the whole length.
Is there really?
I think it's the
Yeah,
whole
so
length.
they're from all over, yeah.
Okay,
a quick
my
question.
apologies.
Chickataway, I think it's
When would they put that? Where would they, do they know where they're gonna try
They
to?
want to put it right at the intersection. There's a whole, it's on our website, isn't it?
The roundabout.
The roundabout's on our
Yeah, the
website.
roundabout.
Not the roundabout, I meant
The 25 mile an hour,
But where to post
Does
it?
where would it be
I'm
posted?
just curious, because to me,
This is imprecise.
Approaches,
I
it
don't
just
think-
says approaches.
That's right.
The approaches.
So
That's what they're
so just so you know, on none of the streets does the town have jurisdiction of. 2 of the streets are DCR and 2 of the
Right.
streets are Mass Highway. So I get it, they want to petition them to court, but even if it would to be passed, the town will have nothing to do with it, other than we'll have to enforce it, because the Milton Police Department polices Route 28.
so we don't know where they wanna put it.
They
No
just run
idea.
it around the intersection.
But as far as the roundabout is concerned.
Well,
that
the roundabout
could-
is all on our website. The whole thing is, it's
Is there a
right there.
time element associated with that? I mean, do we, 2021?
FY
Has
21.
town council opined on this at all yet?
I don't think he's even seen it.
They have, we haven't, well, I don't think, well, actually, no. Town council has, I think they said.
He did hear it. Actually, he was there.
Pending the
Yeah, so the
signatures.
signatures were only approved on Friday. It was on time Wednesday by 5 PM, which
Yep.
is the cutoff. The signatures were verified late Friday afternoon by the clerk.
Is it, okay, John?
I think if they come to Boston, at least give this guy an opportunity to come here.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, so maybe if Alex Whiteside is watching, perhaps he can come and see us on Wednesday.
And we can get an invitation out to him.
Yeah,
on your
that
behalf.
would be good.
And
'cause
just,
think
I
that we
just
have to hear that.
didn't want you to wonder where this came from, so that's,
No,
we just want to
understood.
give you the
Yeah,
background
yeah.
where this
The
came from.
citizens petition.
No, but I agree, I just want to, I don't want to lose the thread though. So, yes, absolutely Alex should come, but I also would like to know if,
What town council says?
well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if it turns out that you can't even do this, then that would be good to know before we.
Can
waste
we
everybody's
ask
time.
Kevin to come and talk to us also, or is that difficult?
I'm questioning whether they have the authority to
It's state.
question this, right?
Because it's
Who
a
has the
state
question?
road.
Who's this,
The
who's,
state road, I don't know if town council
It's a
can
citizen position on a state
weigh
road.
in on
can
this.
he give us advice as to whether the citizen's petition has valid
would-
standing?
It would then have to go to our state delegation, and then it would become
they
a
have-
home rule to change the speed around that intersection.
So
So
what,
the roundabout will be built by the time it's done.
At least give people, does the
So-
town even have the right to ask for a rule petition?
We can ask for anything, I understand,
so,
but
so,
18 questions.
so
So
what
here's
the,
the question.
I know. So the article is for the board
Right,
Yes.
to petition
the general court.
the general court.
Right.
Now,
Correct.
that's a little imprecise.
Yes.
Exactly how that would take effect. So, and it is a citizen's petition. They do have the required number of signatures. The question for town council is whether it's legal or illegal. You know, is it something that we can legally vote on?
And that would help us to
And-
determine our recommendation,
That's
because
exactly
we've
right.
seen these before, and some of them have been well phrased, and some have not, and
Right.
some have been things we could support and things that we couldn't support. And so it would be
Right.
very helpful to have an opinion, at the very least, by our Wednesday meeting, because we've got to, if we're going to move on these, we've got to move
Right.
quickly.
Right, and then the only
Time
question is
of
your
the essence.
recommendation, because if this is something that can be legally voted on by town meeting, it's going on the warrant.
Right.
Regardless,
Right,
yeah,
right, we get
so,
that.
yeah.
But again, if we can have some sense of how we should be looking
Sure.
at this, that would be very helpful.
Quick question on the,
Clinton.
roundabout. So if I'm taking a left and I wanna go to South Shore Plaza,
Yeah,
are they putting it right there?
right in the middle, you're gonna go in and go around, and just like if you,
And you pick your direction.
yeah, you pick your direction.
So they have to
Just
open
go
up
and then
that
you get
area a
off.
little?
And the lights would go.
The lights would go. It would have a couple of hawks. That part of, the signalization's not finalized, but as far as the lights as you see it today, would be gone.
Yeah, I think under that proposal,
No,
there were no
there was
lights.
no lights.
There were no lights.
No.
Like
No,
the
it's-
end of Blue Hill Ave, like that?
No, it's right there in that
No.
intersection. So you know where that house is? That house would have to be
No,
taken.
The light, like
Oh,
how
oh, oh.
the lights guide you around and.
No,
Don't think
there's
so.
no lights
There's one
there.
in Dedham.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, it's right in the center.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yep.
Be very similar to that.
That actually works.
There's been,
It was
It's a little lineup, but it works.
tax dollars.
That makes sense.
there were 14,
You
am I
have to
right?
take that house.
I think there were 14,000 created across this country last year, installed as traffic,
I grew
modern
up on
traffic safety
Rotary. I
measures.
love them.
And it's improved the.
Sooner or later. Okay. I think we made a lot of headway. We're very grateful to the Select Board for coming. My sense is that we do need a meeting on Wednesday. We've actually published an agenda for it for 7 o'clock here. At that point, we voted on 3. We'll get input on 3 that we have discussed, which should make the decision relatively quick, and we'll have the representation of somebody from, we'll have the town council, or his opinion for the citizen's petition, and the planning board representative here, so we can understand exactly what those particular articles mean and vote on them. And then we'll just divvy up the recommendations and have the deadline to come in. It shouldn't be too horrible. We should be able to do this.
I guess.
And I'll write the preface, so we'll be fine.
And Mr. Chair, given that, my intention is to go into the next room and have a vote with the Select Board on canceling the date of the January 13th and setting the date of December 2nd and December 3rd.
If we have to do that to be compliant with the Massachusetts General Courts and the Department of Revenue's requirements, then I don't think there's a choice.
Thank you.
Doug?
It might be a point of order, if we can't get like planning board representation over the, if,
We have
because
to
of the,
get-
because of the truncated time, if it's too short, is there a way to bifurcate so that we only do the budget articles?
Well, we could
And
always
leave
say,
the planning boards
we
for other-
can devise, we could say with no recommendation, because we don't have enough information. We could do that, and then
Just,
the
if
town,
we could
the town
separate them
meeting
out,
would.
that might make it easier
It
as
might.
an option.
It's always an option. But if we can get the representation, that would just make it a lot easier for everybody, and I would imagine that somebody can come and talk to us about these things.
Are we needed to do anything after they take their vote to move the date?
No,
Yep.
we don't have to, because it's up to them.
You just wanted to know if it was okay by us.
I just wanted, you all
It's
have
a
a lot
matter
of
of
work to
courtesy.
do for this. As a matter of courtesy.
Yeah, we appreciate the courtesy.
We didn't want to, just
No,
do
we
it,
need to follow
do
up.
it and impose on you that this is going to be the
We
date.
genuinely appreciate the courtesy. I think we can do this. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can, we'll pull
George, I think
together.
you can do it.
Wouldn't be the first time. Okay, so I think that we're all set with this.
Great.
There's no new business to speak of other than a report that I
I'm
would
going to
make.
absent myself, Mr. Chair.
Please, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. This past Thursday, a week ago, last Thursday, several of us went to tour the schools with the assistant superintendent. It was very enlightening. I had done this earlier, but it was really interesting to go see everything going. Clinton, Doug, Kathy, Lynn, and I went. And it was interesting to see how the school department has managed what has really become a very serious crowding issue in the elementary and the middle school grades. I came away saying, we should have been this should have been addressed 2 years ago, because now they're really in trouble because they're running out of school rooms very, very fast. And, the next thing is they're going to have kids on each other's laps in some of these classrooms. It's not a good situation. There is not an easy solution, because the timetable, as far as it's been explained to me, to construct and finance a new school building, or even part of a new school building, is almost 7 years. And we're going to be at crisis levels way before that. So the school committee and the school building committee have been visiting these sites also and talking about options. But it strikes me that this has to be short-circuited very quickly, because, and please chime in, those of you who are with me, this is an acute problem, and I think it's just accelerating with time as people move into town, and the value of the schools is recognized and the quality of the education is appreciated. It's a high-class problem to have, but it's still a problem, and they're fast running out of space. And there aren't many options to expand where they are. The footprints are in Tucker School, there's no place to go. Glover is hemmed in because of wetlands. Collycott Cunningham, again, has limitations, and it looks like the only option, at least it's been discussed, and again, I'm not going to speak out of turn, but the best option would be to build another building, but then we run into the same problems we're having with the fire stations. Where are you going to put it? What is the right place? You're going to have to redistrict. Nobody's going to really be happy with things like that. So there's a significant issue that is in front of us that we haven't even really
I
discussed
think
yet.
if we be a little bit creative at the schools, some of the schools,
Yeah.
they can find some space to build. I know
It's even
Glover
as-
has some space.
Yeah,
There's
they do have some.
Collycott has some.
They have a little bit, yeah.
Little
They can
bit.
go up
Cunningham
there.
was it?
Cunningham has their attic. and
They have the attic
space
at
in
Cunningham.
back to-
But it was remarkable, the real piece that I took away was how incredibly efficient the principals and the assistant principals and the administrators have been in finding space,
Yes.
and how the teachers have adapted to this in really remarkable ways. It was in many ways edifying to see the school department at its very best, doing these
And the space. Yeah.
modifications.
The,
Christine.
And the space that they want, that they need, they're gonna get rid of some programs
Yes.
because of that. So if they do that, they don't wanna do that, they still need these programs for either special
Well-
needs kids, hold on a second, special needs kids or something, so they're asking us to try to help them with this issue, but,
No.
I mean,
Yeah, also just as it was explained to us, is having to go through the state bureaucracy of building a new school.
That's ridiculous.
You're only allowed to build for your immediate needs, so we
Right.
can't even plan ahead.
That
So
was
they're
the
making
problem.
plans now, they won't be actually open for business for 7 years. The problem's gonna be compounded, so we're still gonna have the problem in 7 years.
Well, Dr.
And they won't
Pavlicek
do it as-
explained that very
Yeah.
clearly, said when they were financing for 14 strands
Yeah.
going up, and their projection showed 17 strands,
But the state might
this
not
past year,
allow
and the state wouldn't allow us
17,
to
only
move to
14.
17.
So they'll
And guess
still
where
have
we
the
are now?
problem.
We're at 17.
Even with the new building, they'll still have the problem.
Even
So-
with the new building, they would have problems.
And it's 7 years down the road, there
Yeah,
might be
It's
better or
it's
more
it's
immediate
it's
options.
it's an unfortunate
than building a new
situation.
building.
Christine?
You saw at the elementary school level, how you also solve at the middle school and high
We saw the middle school too, yeah.
No, I'm saying,
They're not having the same issue yet, but for example, the new principal of Pierce Middle School said that the graduating ninth grade is going out, and they're like 306, but the incoming sixth grade for next year is 361.
and I've only heard discussion about finding extras, another elementary school or wiggle room at the elementary schools, but like, my son's in high school and his classes are crowded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have issues there too. They've
wanted
moved,
to
they've
see the
moved
high
the music,
school,
they've moved the
yeah.
art rooms, the computer rooms, everything that has been able to be converted into a regular classroom, whether they're the enrichment rooms or the special purpose rooms, has been converted. The only thing they haven't taken in some places are the teachers' rooms, and they would have issues with the union if we did that. So there are issues, but the difference at Milton High is you got lots of space to expand.
Yeah.
The principal of the middle school explained, as I heard it, is that their principal problem is their common areas, like the lunchroom. That's where their crowding is,
Yeah.
not the classrooms.
Yeah.
The
And it
classrooms
was-
are occurring at the elementary.
Yeah, and when the kids came in, all I could remember was the scene of The Lion King where the stampede comes through and the little lion is there and Mufasa gets
And the Lions,
trampled down.
to get their lunch, like some kids basically spend their entire lunch period
That's
in
why they
line.
just
In line.
implemented that
Yeah, I
new
know.
thing.
And they get to wolf it down in like 5 minutes.
Well, they
And they
just,
go to gym.
they just implemented a new thing at the high school where you can pre-order your lunch so you don't have to stand in line. so that they can start to move them through quicker because they're running into that problem.
Not clever.
However, now that I have the floor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Like how I did that. There, I believe at the last town meeting, or maybe it was the one before that, we implemented a school planning building. What's their
We authorized
timeline?
them. I don't know what the timeline is.
Okay,
I
I
have
don't
not
either.
heard that. I think the school committee is overseeing that
Are they?
as well,
Okay.
too, so we can ask that question,
Yeah,
but.
Dr. Pavlicek
Do you remember
gave us the
that?
regulations. I know we passed that, yes, without.
We did, definitely. And when we, through this particular aspect of this warrant, we'll start the budget process, and Superintendent Gormley and Dr. Pavlicek will come, and I'm sure they will be very happy to answer the questions.
I'm sure.
But anyway, so is there any other new business that we need to consider? If not, we'll meet Wednesday next at 7 o'clock, and we'll try to move through as quickly as possible. I think we should be able to get this
No,
done.
this Wednesday.
This Wednesday, as opposed to next Wednesday. This Wednesday, which
The
is
30th.
October 30th, at 7 o'clock here, and that agenda has been published, so it's valid. So if there is no other business,
Second.
all in favor?
Adjourned.
Adjourned.